Hey there guys, it is Tattletale. I wanted to bring you guys some more content really to get more stuff out there. So I was going to start doing some analysis videos. I really feel a lot of people, I mean, it's what I spend my time doing anyway in my spare time. When I'm not streaming, I'll be watching videos like this. Let me just pause this for a second. I'll be watching videos like this. If some of you didn't know, I've now moved into a manager role and coach for Epex. So I spend a lot of my time when I'm not streaming watching games for Epex, watching their scrims, analysing their stuff, coaching them on this. And I thought I might want to bring you guys some of that stuff. So you're going to be getting a lot more content coming out. A lot of this stuff of me analysing videos for them. I'll just often leave my OBS on record to get the footage for this and then just come back to it later, rewatch it, and just analyze over the top of it. It gives me like a lot of freedom with the video just to be able to just play and pause when I can, just talk over it. So I wanted to do that. This is a game right now between Epex's monster for Epex White, Call Me Shenanigans, against the Hunter team of Stage 3, one of the teams who have come into the scene recently, and they've done pretty well for themselves as a team. Nothing big yet, but they're pretty new, so it should be interesting to see what they can do in the next few weeks in ESL and the Go 4 Cups. So we're getting into this game right here between these two teams, and Shenanigans goes for that pathing straight underneath Medlab there. And a lot of monsters go for it recently. It allows you to sneak straight off the bat without the hunters knowing directly what direction you're going in, without as well spending too much time to try instead of line of sight. A lot of hunter teams will know then that you're doing it, so he goes for that one food there. He goes back hoping the mammoth birds will spawn, which wastes a bit of time. But then he gets pretty lucky here, gets a 2 mammoth bird spawn as well as a pack of blitz leopards. So that's, what, 6? Then that's straight up, he's just got 10 meat there, which is 2/3 of his evolve, like right there. So he pretty much just gets completely evolve ready from that pack. As soon as he does, he's waiting for those hunters to turn up. Literally on cue, there's the hunters. So he sees the hunter team coming that direction, and he's thinking here that they're all grouped as 4 coming along, but actually the trapper's done a good job here, and the trapper's hung back as that Maggie into that alleyway, and that just allows her to pressure the monster back into the area like she has. And so Shenanigans is caught in the situation here where he will most likely get domed, and he really needs to commit to something here, otherwise he's going to get pressure pretty hard. So he cuts up this left side, seeing if he can commit, and actually there's a lack of communication here. So I'll stop right... Oh, Jesus. So yeah, like as he comes up the side here, he just sees that the trapper's not where they should be. The trapper should have got the communication from the team that the monster was coming up that left side, but instead the trapper doesn't get that communication, and if I'm not mistaken, the trapper actually commits way too hard into following. You see here, he cuts back, and the trapper actually follows the monster here. Rather than staying on that alleyway choke point, the trapper actually follows through. And so that allows Shenanigans to just cut straight up the left side here without any issues whatsoever. And just from that, Shenanigans just gets free roam to just leave the area. And then, as well as that, he's ready to evolve now. So he's just going to head straight up to the usual evolve spot. I wouldn't expect anything new here. I don't think we see anything new here as far as evolve spots go. It's a pretty standard spot. You do have to think about that Hank play that comes into effect, and as you see, he does. He looks straight up as soon as he's evolving, sees if he can get orbital, because he knows the hunter team could have reacted fast enough to get to him on this evolve here, and they might be able to react to him fast enough. So he checks, he makes sure he's not in the open, And due to that, when the Hank gets him, he can't do anything. The dome comes down here now, but this is actually not that bad a dome for Shenanigans. He doesn't have any armor here, but the loop here is actually pretty decent. But they do have that hide, and the Toxic Nade comes in, which keeps him out of that choke point for a while. It's pretty hard focus onto the Hank here, but he actually loses him, sadly, due to that cloak. If he just stayed on him there, he could have got a free down onto the Hank, which would have been pretty good for him. But now he's just going to hang back into this area here, which is pretty decent area for him to choke point it. He can use his Vortex to just keep the hunters away from him. And I think that's what he's going to do here. He just gets hit by that Toxic Nade again. That's sadly going to create it's going to create a bit of zone control for the hunters, which is really what they want. They want to control that zone and force the Kraken out of it. So the Hide's doing a good job here of landing that Napalm Grenade in that cave area. Forces Shenanigans out of the cave to reduce the amount of damage he's taking, but ultimately it will lead to him taking more damage here. Personal shield comes out from the Hide there from taking too much damage. Now the team's pretty split here. So the Hide actually went around expecting him to still come through rather than following. So this gives Shenanigans an open chance to go for that Hank. He's only got Cairo there. The Trapper is inside the cave as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so he can go on the Hank here pretty freely, trying to get him down. There's the Vortex. Sneak Pounce comes through. Heavy hit. And here comes the Lightning Strike. And doesn't actually connect, sadly. And there's the Vortex missing as well. So pretty good dodge there from the Hank from the Hunter team. And Shenanigans takes a lot of damage here from this dome. It wasn't a bad dome for him, but the zone control coming through from the Hide there, that Hide pick, was pretty good. So they do manage to control that out. So he's going to go down here into these caves and get some food as much as he can here. So he's managed to find a Mammoth Bird here as well. So that gives him a free bit of meat. Finding some more Mammoth Birds as well. So he's getting pretty lucky on the Mammoth Bird spawns. They did spawn some more, and they are right in his path. And that gives him enough armor here that he feel like he can re-engage a bit from the Hank coming too far forwards. But nothing manages to connect, so he just backs off. And now the Hunter team pressure's starting to come through pretty nicely. They need to keep the pressure on Shenanigans here, because if they don't pressure him enough, he's just going to be able to escape, feed up, hit that stage 3 for free, and they really need to stop that. But that Lightning Strike comes through really big. That clipped both of them, which was really bad for them. I think he managed to get that Hank down, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't actually manage to see that. The cloak was popped. So, pretty good job there from the Hank, dodging that. No, he actually didn't manage to get the Hank down at all. And now he's trying to engage here because he knows the Trapper is further back. So the Trapper's gone to that point again. And this means that he can engage the Hunter team here freely without getting domed. So he's just going for as much as an engage as he can here. He's taking quite a bit of damage for it, but he should be able to get something from it if he can keep landing those attacks. Pounce comes through, that's going to be pretty good. And now Hank is really out of position there. And I'd have liked to see a defensive orbital coming out from the Hank there. It doesn't allow them to get anything back for Hank to going down. If the defensive orbital had come out a lot sooner there, as soon as the Kraken landed, that was a big sign for Hank to use that orbital, because he's going to go for the sneak pounce into the heavy hit, into the Vortex, down Hank completely. But he doesn't. He holds on to that orbital. He tries to just run instead. And because of that, there's no deterrent damage coming down onto Kraken for trying to down Hank there. And he gets him pretty much for free here. Gonna try and hold them off of healing him up. And hold Daisy off of getting the revive. Trying to get the Hank down here. Again, the Trapper's still further back. And this is the point where the Trapper really needed to get into the fight. Soon as the Trapper hears that they're fighting, the Trapper needs to be there. And the Trapper comes in now, but by now it's just way too late. He makes sure Hank is dead here, but he should be able to tell in a few seconds if Hank really is just completely out of the action. He's taking quite a lot of damage here for this fight. There goes Hank straight away. They have no Hank in this fight now, and this is actually a really critical point in this game. Hank goes down, and then it turns into a 3 versus 1. And at this point as well, the Trapper coming in changes this point to a make or break moment. Because the Trapper decides to come in after Hank goes down, which is arguable, because if she'd have been there when Hank was fighting, you could have supplied crowd control, damage, deterred the Kraken off of Hank, and maybe got some more return damage for this. But instead, she waited on that choke point, thinking the Kraken was going to just try and disengage and run when he was on Hank. But instead, Kraken just focuses onto that Hank and gets him down. And by the time Maggie comes into play, in this case, by the time she gets that dome down, it's actually 3v1. And this leads it to a point now where Shenanigans has no armor. So he has a reason not to fight this, as well as a reason to fight this. But that is instantly turned into, you have to fight this, you have to win here, because of that dome coming down. And he only has 3.5 bars of health. So he's actually pretty low on health at this point. And the assault is still up. Maggie still has plenty of damage, and Kyra is still up as well. So we're going to see exactly how he fights this. It's a good dome location for him. There's a lot of open space. There's a lot of line of sight breaks that he can use around this big rock here. And he can generally influence the fight here very, very greatly if he just focuses. And so he's sat up on this point here. Vortex comes through. There's the lightning strike, and he's starting to focus onto the Kyra here, which is a good choice. He needs to get Kyra down if he's going to get anyone else down. The Vortex was dodged nicely there, and so he's starting to get the pounce damage off, starting to get a bit more, but he gets a bit of an unfortunate traversal bug there and floats way too far off. And at this point, he's looking for a good amount of damage, and the lightning strike comes down and does connect. That's a great lightning strike. And at this point, he's just trying to get the Kyra down. The use of the tree there was actually very smart from the Kyra. It stops the auto attacks and maybe a vortex, but the vortex clips her anyway. So it's not a bad play there by Kyra, but just gets caught out, unfortunately. Healing Burst comes through and keeps her up and heals everyone else up. And at this point, Kyra is now at 2... Kraken's now at 2 bars of health, so Kraken's really low. And they're going to try for this revive too hard here. They commit to that revive really hard. Daisy actually does manage to get Kyra up, though. But the Trapper takes a Vortex for it, and at this point, as soon as the Trapper there's Shenanigans notices that Kyra got back up, Trapper just... Shenanigans just disengages from the fight. So Shenanigans just leaves that fight straight away, because he knows he can't win that at that point. And the dome actually did come down just in time. So, really good fight there from stage 3. Actually putting a lot of pressure on the Kraken. But that there was... I need to go just back on this bit, because this bit's important. So, he manages to get this Mammoth Bird here, and at this point, the team are pushing through to try and chase him. But I see teams doing this a lot. They use this cave bit when they can't see the monster. They just cut through it. Because a lot of teams don't think about where they're actually going unless they can see the monster. So the Trapper just pushes straight through that bit, because she's just in full-on, we need to get another dome down mode. And so she just runs straight into the Kraken there, not knowing he's there at all. Vortex to the face, here comes the lightning strike, and that right there, that grouping, so there's Daisy, Markov, and Maggie right there. Kyra's in a decent position here. She went around the base of the cave up onto that higher point, so she's in a decent position here. But the Trapper runs back to the cave to get back to the Kyra and runs into this choke point here as Markov and Daisy come through, and he gets a great 3-man lightning strike onto them. Healing Burst comes through nicely from Kyra, but that puts her in a really rough position, because now she's really close to the Kraken. The high damage is starting to come through, like, pretty big now, though. Great reposition there from Shenanigans, just runs around and straight out vortexes. And this is where Hyde really comes through, because he toxic nades that cave as soon as the fight starts, and it pretty much denies Kraken from just hard engaging there and ending the game in that very close quarter engagement. But it's a pretty big mistake from the Trapper just to be way too far forwards there. And the Trapper really, like, you need to be very careful of where you're actually running as you play this game. Because unless you can see the monster and know that he's not going to turn on you, you can't just run straight up as much as you would want to. And so, Shenanigans is just going to run straight up here. He's not actually evolve ready yet. He's just about to hit that point now. So he hits that stage 3 ready, and he starts to stage up right there. And this is a bit of a risky spot, because Hank is now back in the fray. So, not sure exactly when it happened. I think it happens right here. So, Hank is down in... Well, dropship timer stops in 5 seconds. So, as soon as that timer hits 0, the timer starts for Kraken. Dropship time from the timer ending to landing is straight up 30 seconds. So at this point, he knows he has 30 seconds before Hank is back in this fight. And so what he's really thinking here in his mind is, I just need to hit stage 3. I need to hit stage 3 so I can force that fight. But he's not thinking here about how dropships come in. At this point, it's been 10, 15 seconds. There's another 15 seconds. So actually, this evolve isn't half bad. Because whilst Hank is back in the game, he manages to get the evolve off quickly enough so that he can't get punished for this decision to go for an evolve here out in the open. But it is something you just need to keep in the back of your mind as you play. He does manage to get daisies, unfortunately there. The team are chasing him though. And that's pretty rough for him because he only has he has 4.5 bars of health right now. So the team know that he's evolving. They're trying to get on as fast as they can. And the Trapper sees that he evolves there and actually throws that dome down. And I feel like the dome would have hit if he hadn't got the daisies. So it was a bit of luck on Shenanigans' side. He goes for that aerial to avoid damage from the daisies and falls back a bit as soon as he sees the Trapper because he's up in the air. And he flies backwards and that dome just misses him just because of that. So it's a bit of unfortunate luck. And then here he actually falls back into the dome. Which I remember watching this bit and thinking to myself, what is he doing? He falls back into the dome, but then the Trapper drops it because the Trapper sees that he's not in the dome, and at this point everyone's on defense mode. Everyone goes to themselves, right, let's run back. Let's set up on the relay. Let's just set up for this fight. We've got Mag and Markov, traps and mines. Hank is great for this defense as well, so we're doing pretty well here. So the Trapper just thinks, let's drop the dome. It's just pretty funny here because if they'd have pushed further onto him, which they should have in my opinion, because he has no armor, so they can get some health damage down before he gets any armor down. They can pressure him off food, so they stall the timer out a bit more. And just generally be a nuisance to him and force him to maybe make a mistake. But they decide to go for the defense too quickly here. And so when he makes this mistake of dropping back into the dome, they just drop it for him. But it's just a case of the team not pressuring him correctly there. They're going a bit too much for the safety option here when I feel they could have gone a bit more aggressive. So he is able to just disengage from that. Picks up this food here. Grabs a nice Steamodon for himself and another one. And the team know that he's right there. They can see the birds activate, so they know he's right behind them. He's just going to try and grab as much armor as he can here, though. So looking at the timer here, it's a good idea when you hit that stage 3. Stage 3 is really the important time to check how much time you have, because it gives you an idea of how hard you have to go on the fight. If you've got like 5 minutes left, you've got time for 2 fights, right? You've got time for an engagement. If the Trapper domes instantly, you can keep on engaging. If not, then you're fine. I'm trying to work out exactly what's going on here as well. Oh, he was waiting for someone to reconnect. They called a pause. So, like, he checks the time. He was actually checking, really, to see when the player was reconnected. But you should always really check the time, because it tells you how much engagement time you have to work with, so you can see whether you need to go hard or go home, or you can just engage, get as much damage as you can. If you can't finish the game, disengage, grab some armor, come back in. But he goes in for this engage here. Lightning strike comes through. That's a pretty good lightning strike. Snipes the trapper straight away, and he's focusing the trapper out here pretty hard. Actually, no, it's the Hank. I'm wrong. It hits the Hank, which is even better. And I think he managed to take the Hank down there with the aftershock. Tonic then comes too close and takes a lightning strike as well. So the Kyra takes loads of damage. You can hear from the subtitles, actually, Hank didn't go down, but Hank must have got so low that Kyra actually overextends. She sees that Hank is so low, so she just goes in, which means she takes a lightning strike to the face. She takes that vortex, and at this point, she's actually going to take a lot more damage as well. Aftershock comes out, that's going to down her. The Hank shield wasn't there in time, and Hank actually gets taken down with that as well. So that's a case of the team just not spreading out. It's a great aftershock positioning there from Shenanigans as well. And at this point, it's game over. He doesn't have any armor. He's got 4 bars of health. So if Kyra had gone down on her own, and there'd been a great orbital placement on top of that aftershock, they could have definitely won this. But instead, Hank went for that shield. I think he was possibly switching between weapons as he got hit by that aftershock as well. But an orbital there would have got them 2, maybe 2.5 bars of health on top of that aftershock. When you've got Kyra, when you've got Maggie and Markov up still as well, and maybe some great shield work from the Hank, they could have definitely turned this game. But at this point, it's now over for Shenanigans. It's over for stage 3. Shenanigans can just finish up this game. He's got Kyra down. He's got Hank down. Daisy, he's just camping the bodies here, keeping Daisy off of them. Taking quite a bit of damage here, but this is the thing with Hyde. He can't really do much at this point. A lot of the damage is really coming through from Maggie rather than Hyde. Aftershock comes through again. That hits onto the Trapper. He's focusing the Trapper down here, actually trying to get her down, which is a good idea because whilst Hyde is the one you want to take down due to that damage, he's got the personal shield. You focus all your abilities onto Hyde. He'll just shield out last second. And then you go switch targets, which when you can just down the Trapper and change it to one source of damage, it's a lot better. So he takes the Trapper down here. Great positioning of that Toxic Nade, actually. There's the personal shield. And Toxic Nade runs out here. Flamethrower's coming through pretty decent. Here's the Aftershock. Still shielding, but at this point, it's just over. And so you see, it was a pretty close game there, actually. So Shenanigans only actually got to 2 bars of health, which if you think about it, is about 3-4 seconds of an orbital. So if he'd have managed to get that orbital down, maybe they definitely could have won that game out by like the skin of their teeth. But I think it's just small positioning errors, lack of pressure and such from the Trapper causing the Hank to down. And Shenanigans played a pretty decent game there. He just took a lot too much. That English. He just took way too much damage on the first dome when he was evolving. It was good pressure there from the Hunter team to force him out of just being able to go damage mitigation mode. But he definitely could have played that better. Didn't get any downs. Took a lot of damage on leaving the dome. And so he's almost very much punished for it and almost loses the game in that case. But a pretty decent game from Shenanigans.